My name is Daniel Fisher. I am 64 years old. 3 days ago, my son-in-law texted me, "We're done with you forever. Never contact us again." My daughter confirmed it. Minutes later, I typed back 2 words, "No problem." And within the hour, I had canceled every automatic payment I had been quietly making for their house and their cars. $2,400 a month for 6 straight years. Weeks later, when the banks started calling and the bills piled up, they showed up at my door, begging me to turn it all back on. Before I tell you what happened next, please hit like and subscribe. Drop your city and local time below. I love knowing where you are listening from. Now let me take you back 6 years to a spreadsheet I never thought I would need, and a daughter who used to run to the door shouting, "Daddy's home." I spent 38 years as a financial consultant in Scottsdale, helping other people manage their money and plan their retirement. I never once thought I would need those same skills against my own family. My daughter Rachel used to squeal, "Daddy's home," the moment I walked through the door. As a girl, her husband Sean called me sir for the first 6 months after they met. Polite, ambitious, a firm handshake. I should have recognized that as a warning. Nobody is that polite unless they want something. It started small, a $28,000 down payment on their house that Sean promised repeatedly to pay back, then to car loans, insurance premiums, a family medical plan added through my retirement benefits, all of it automatic, all of it framed as what a good father simply does for his kids. 2 years ago, at a barbecue, one of Sean's coworkers joked that Rachel had married up because their house was nicer than his apartment. Sean laughed and said, "Well, when you work hard and make smart choices, good things happen." Without a single acknowledgement of who had actually made the down payment, Rachel stood right there and said nothing. That is the exact moment I started keeping a spreadsheet. Not out of spite, I told myself, just professional habit. By early March, that spreadsheet had grown into a number I could no longer ignore. $172,800 over 6 years. Not counting the down payment or the countless emergency transfers along the way. The night it truly landed was a Saturday dinner at their house. An 80-inch television mounted on the wall, $3,200, top of the line, while I already knew they were carrying $11,000 in high-interest credit card debt. When I asked, gently, whether they had made progress on that debt, the temperature in the room dropped instantly. Sean's polite mask disappeared entirely. "This is exactly the problem," he said. "Every time we make a decision, you have to make it about money." Rachel stood frozen in the doorway, terror silent on her face, and when I asked if she felt the same way, she whispered that sometimes it felt like I did not trust them to make their own decisions. I left that dinner with my pot roast and touched. 2 days of silence followed. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon in my garage, my phone buzzed with Sean's message, "We're done with you forever. Stop trying to control our lives. Never contact us again." Rachel's followed minutes later, softer, but just as final. I read both messages 3 times, and instead of grief, something colder and clearer settled over me instead. That's the word people use for a boundary they were never willing to have an honest conversation about. I sat down that same afternoon and pulled up my banking app, looking at the actual flow of money for the first time in years instead of just my private spreadsheet. $2,400 automatically withdrawn every single month. Their mortgage, both car loans, insurance premiums, alongside a family medical plan and a Costco membership I had nearly forgotten I was still funding. I typed my reply to Sean, "No problem. Good luck with everything," and to Rachel, "I understand. I wish you both the best." Then, one by one, I canceled every automatic payment, the mortgage, both auto loans, the insurance premium, click, click, confirm, years of financial support erased in under 2 minutes. I felt no guilt, just a strange calm, like putting down a weight I had not realized I was carrying. The following morning, I met with Gerald Torres, a family law attorney downtown, and laid out everything, the 6 years of payments, the total, the text messages severing contact. He confirmed plainly what I already suspected. These were voluntary gifts with no written agreement, no legal obligation whatsoever to continue them, and the fact that they had explicitly cut off contact only strengthened my position further. He advised me to document everything carefully. In case this ever turned contentious, I already had documentation, had been second nature for 38 years. That same afternoon, I removed Rachel and Sean from my family medical plan, canceled their Costco membership, and found a forgotten $15 streaming subscription Sean had asked me to add 3 years earlier under just temporarily canceled by evening. Every financial connection I had quietly built over 6 years was severed except the largest 3, already gone. I wish this had gone differently. I wish my daughter had grown into a woman who defended the truth in that living room instead of one who stood silently, while her husband erased my name from every dollar he had ever received. But wishes do not undo 6 years of a pattern neither of them was willing to examine. Honestly, the truth does. I sat alone in my garage that first night, working on the carburetor of my 1967 Mustang, letting myself feel the full weight of what had happened without rushing past it. Their next mortgage payment was due April 1st. I had roughly 2 weeks before either of them would notice anything was wrong, and I intended to spend every one of those days making certain my own legal footing was completely solid. 2 weeks passed in near silence, one soft text from Rachel insisting this was the right thing, that they needed to stand on their own feet. I did not respond. I spent those evenings finishing the Mustang's carburetor rebuild, reviewing Gerald Torres's advice, and organizing every bank statement and text message into a single folder, dated and screenshotted, exactly as he recommended. The night before their mortgage payment was due, I sat alone in my study reviewing the full timeline one final time. Every canceled payment, every message, every dollar accounted for across 6 years. Just before midnight, I closed the folder and set it aside, fully prepared for whatever came next. 12:03 in the morning. I am 64 years old. I am, for the first time in 6 years, no longer quietly funding a life that told me my presence in it was optional. Across town, Rachel and Sean were almost certainly still assuming their automatic payments were simply running as they always had, with a combined income that left them roughly $2,000 short every month the moment my support disappeared entirely. By mid-April, the calls started: the mortgage company, the auto lenders, the insurance provider, each one reaching out about a missed or lapsed payment neither Rachel nor Sean had noticed was gone, until the letters began arriving within days. They showed up at my front door together, Sean's confidence entirely gone, asking me to simply turn everything back on. I told them calmly what Gerald Torres had already confirmed in writing, that every payment had been a voluntary gift, that they had explicitly asked me never to contact them again, and that I was, quite simply, respecting their wishes in every possible sense. Sean looked at me the way he always had, expecting the quiet father-in-law who absorbed every cost without complaint. He was not looking at that man anymore. I had not been that man since the moment his text arrived in my garage 3 weeks earlier. I spent 38 years teaching other people's families the same lesson. I finally had to teach my own. That money given without any boundary eventually stops being recognized as generosity at all. I always believed love meant providing without condition. I understand now it also means being valued enough to have a place at the table, not just a line item on a budget. Rachel and Sean are, as of this recording, working directly with their lenders to restructure what they can afford on their own combined income. Gerald Torres still handles the documentation should anything further arise. As for me, the Mustang runs beautifully now, and my bank account, for the first time in 6 years, reflects exactly what I actually earn. I think about 6-year-old Rachel every time I start that engine in the garage, and I think real independence is something people build for themselves. It is never something you can hand someone while they resent you for holding the ladder. If you have ever had to let go of something you built out of love once it stopped being appreciated, I want to hear your story. Tell me in the comments, and if this one moved you, subscribe to Dad's Revenge Tales. There is more where this came from.